Hey, church girl, I'm Dr. Brenda, and for those of you who are new here, welcome. Today, I'm going to share something you might not like, but you need to hear it. Sis, you are not stuck. You are scared. Scared of what you're going to feel when you finally slow down and face the truth. Scared of what will surface when the noise stops. Scared of what God might reveal when you finally sit with him long enough to hear his whisper. Sis, you keep calling it writer's block for those of you who write, but you don't have writer's block. You have emotional blockage. And nobody taught you what to do with the feelings you buried just to survive. Here's what's really happening, sis. You've been serving, you've been giving, you've been praying. You've even been encouraging everybody else. But you have not been tending to your own wounds. You've become a caregiver to everyone but yourself. God is not releasing the next thing in your life until you deal with the last one. Because writing isn't just creativity. Writing is exposure. Writing is confrontation. Writing is truth, and truth requires healing. Since you keep asking God for new ideas, new opportunities, new assignments, God, show me my purpose. But God keeps circling you back to the same pain you never addressed. Not because he is cruel, but because he loves you too much to let you build on broken. If you are a believer, you know the story of the woman at the well in John chapter 4. So let me go through the word with you. In John chapter 4, Jesus meets a woman who spent her whole life avoiding the truth about herself. She came to the well at the wrong time of the day to avoid people. She avoided conversation. She avoided community. She avoided being seen. Just like many church girls today, serving but hiding, faithful but wounded, gifted but exhausted. But God didn't shame her. He didn't expose her to embarrass her. He exposed the truth to free her. And hear me, he didn't give her new purpose until she faced her old pain. After that moment of honesty, she left her water pot, the thing she hid behind, and became the first evangelist in her town. Her story changed the moment she stopped avoiding her truth. How many of you are avoiding your truth today? And that's what God is trying to do with you. He is meeting you in place you've been avoiding. Not to shame you, sis, but to free you so you can tell your story with power. That woman ran into the town, forgetting who she was, but realizing who she met. This is why church girls stay silent. You stay silent because you're avoiding it. Now let's go where most sermons won't. Church girls were taught to be strong. We were taught to sing louder. We were taught to pray harder. We were taught to smile more. We were told to give it to God, but never taught how to be honest with God. We were taught that crying was weakness, that anger meant you lacked faith, that trauma was something you cover in prayer and move on from. So instead of healing, you hid. Instead of telling the truth, you performed. Instead of feeling, you shut down. And instead of confronting, you spiritualized. And now you are tired. You're numb. invisible to your own self, and disconnected from your purpose. Not because you're lazy, but because you're wounded. They taught you to be strong, but God is teaching you to be honest. The truth about healing, sis, is that it is not pretty. It doesn't come wrapped in a devotional. I have one that you can use, but it doesn't come wrapped in a devotional and a worship song. Healing is ugly crying at random times. Healing is remembering that what you fought to forget. Healing is naming the thing you swore you'll never say out loud. Healing is setting boundaries that make you feel guilty. Healing is sitting with God and finally admitting that you are broken. That broke me. It's not instant. It's not cute, but it is necessary. And here's the truth. You need to write it down right now. God will never use you at full capacity if you are still bleeding internally. He cannot pour through a heart that is still leaking. So he slows you down. He closes doors. He interrupts your plans. He frustrates your busy seasons, not to punish you, but to protect you. And sis, I know that too well. I remember a season in my life where everything in my life looked successful on the outside. I had the husband and the children and the ministry, the family, the work, and I had started writing my childhood memoir. But emotionally, I was running on fumes. I kept telling myself, push through, keep going. God will strengthen you. But every time I sat down to write, I felt blank, heavy, or exhausted. Not because I didn't have ideas, but because I didn't have emotional capacity. One day, the Holy Spirit said, girl, you can't pour from a wound you refuse to acknowledge. That was the day I realized my calling wasn't stuck. My calling, my healing was stuck. And until I dealt with what was bleeding in private, God wasn't going to bless me in public. Some of you are in that same spot right now. Why writing is part of your healing is because, sis, it will change your life just like it did mine. Writing is not just storytelling. Writing is deliverance. Writing is therapy. Writing is obedience, sis. Writing is spiritual warfare. When you put words to the pain, it loses power. When you tell the truth, darkness loses its grip. When you write the story, shame loses its voice. And God didn't give you your story so you could choke on it. He gave it to you to heal you and free someone else. Sis, your testimony is not about exposing people. It's about exposing truth. Your pen is not a weapon. It's a key. And the enemy knows this. That's why he keeps you busy. That's why he keeps you tired. That's why he keeps you comparing your process to somebody else. Because as long as you stay silent, he stays safe. You won't expose him for the liar that he is. But when you heal, when you rise, when you write, you become dangerous. Dangerous. This is why everything I do is built around those three words: heal, rise, write. I'm not here to hype you. I'm here to walk with you through a real transformation. That's why I wrote the books I've written. That's why I build the Faithfully Funded Toolkit. That's why I've written Church Girl Heal. And that's why I have one-on-one mentorship and getting ready to launch my second cohort of Heal, Rise, and Right. This is not just for impact, but for alignment. Because I know what it's like to be called and scared, gifted and broken, anointed and wounded. And I also know what happens when you finally surrender the pain and pick up the pen. If you're ready to start, the links are in the description. There's no pressure, just obedience. Church girl, you are not stuck. You are being invited into healing. God is not trying to expose you. He is trying to restore you. And if this message touched you, if something stirred in you, in your spirit, if you felt seen, I invite you to subscribe. This is your season to heal, rise, and right. I'm Dr. Brenda, and this is Church Girl Heal.